I can tell by the number of, it's been a minute since a sermon has created the number of emails I've had to respond to in the last couple of days. I know y'all, if you're like me, you're really eager to get into the lesson, but I do want to take time just to maybe hear from one or two of you. Well, that's one, Angie, and who's number two? Anybody else, so we know up front? Okay, Angie and Corey, go ahead, Angie.
I want to say that, and I know you put out that several people had taken the challenge, and eventually I did. In the beginning, it was a struggle for me to do so, and one of the reasons why, and I just shared this with someone earlier, and I hadn't really shared this with anybody, but before I was struggling with if I was a friend, for the last month or so, I've been struggling with me. And I'm fighting something, or was fighting something, that I never dealt with before. I've never had this issue before. And that's an issue of not trusting. That's never been an issue for me, I trust. But because of some situations and things that has happened, I realize now that I've been wrestling with me not to give into that.
Okay.
And so I've talked to it. I'm like, you know what? I know the enemy wants to get me right here, to get me to a place where I stop trusting people. So I've been fighting because that's not who I am. So because of that, then doing the challenge was hard, because then I started doubting myself, and I was scared of the answers that I may get.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make a strategic plan. I didn't want to ask just anybody. So I said, Lord, you got to show me who to ask. So what he gave me was different people in different roles in my life, okay? Whether it was a friend that's been a friend for 50-something years, a business partner kind of friend. So I had to ask those questions when I finally, still scared of what I may get, because now I'm doubting myself.
Yeah.
And maybe to my surprise, but not to my surprise, I didn't get the answer that I thought I was gonna get, but I got the answer that let me know I am a freak, and I'm not a taker. One of my friends thought, and I even asked somebody who I knew we have had some kind of disagreements, but we knew that our relationship was more important on the God assignment versus whatever our little bump heads was. So one of the persons that replied back, and she said to me, she said, but here's an area we both can grow in. Sometimes we just need to pick up the phone, not wanting anything, just to say, how are you doing today?
That's good.
So I'm glad of that. I'm glad I fought through the struggle, because even today, what I need, who I needed showed up. The need was met. But had I given in to what the enemy wanted me to do, was not trust, I wouldn't have let nobody in to help me in a need that I needed.
Awesome. That's good. Cool.
So,
Sorry. Pastor. I need them to respect you too. So I gotta go first.
so two things, right? First of all, you absolutely destroyed what my criteria is concerning a friend.
Sorry.
Things that I would use to measure a friend, or even to measure myself by being a friend. And then secondly, it reminded me of some things that my mom used to tell me. And I would rely on my friends a lot. So I was with my friend, I need to go here with my friends, or my friend said this, or we should do that. And she would emphatically say, you ain't got no friends. I was offended when she used to say that, but I understand that it was because I didn't know what a friend was.
Yeah.
And she may have known due to her age and experience.
Yeah.
So what you're measuring people by and calling you a friend, you really don't even understand something like what it means. So she said, you ain't got no friends, I'm your friend. And I felt like that was corny, like, man, you can't be my friend. You're not a cool friend. You know what I'm saying?
let's jump into this, and by all means, I wanted to limit the conversations up front because I want to give y'all more time, and in the midst of the discussion to ask you questions, so we can get as much covered tonight as possible. Our text came from Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. As the first bullet point says, your paperwork looks a little different because I went back and edited it. And so right in there, the change. Because I think on your paper it says, if healthy relationships are our goal. And I changed that to, if healthy relationships are a need, then reciprocity has to become your guiding behavior. It is a need, amen? It is absolutely a need. Life is shallow and empty. Even if you're able to accomplish things, life is still shallow and empty if you don't have healthy relationships to walk alongside of you during this journey. And it's interesting how oftentimes what believers will do, I've watched us do this, because we didn't know how to do relationships. And so by the time we come to God, we create this very popular cliche that all I need is God.
Yeah.
And that's because I've jacked up so many relationships, the only person who gets me is God.
Wow.
And so that's what we say, all I need is Jesus, that's all. And truth be told, you know that's not true. And God declared that even to Adam. And so once God stated it in the beginning, it's true for all of us. He stated it to Adam, so therefore he was saying it about who? Mankind. Are you a part of mankind? Absolutely, absolutely. And so we have a need for one another. And as I stated to you Sunday, whenever we test the waters with y'all and ask you what's the most pressing issue in your life, it never fails that relationship is always at the top of the list. And the thing that I know about all of us is that we say that we want healthy relationships, but the question becomes, are you willing to pay the price to get it? That becomes the question, because we really want it delivered, gift wrapped, and dropped at our doorstep. And so what we really want is a ready-made person who's going to love somebody who's in process. You hear what I'm saying? We want them finished so they can handle us. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work, as I've jokingly told you, because men don't really have this conversation, ladies, but y'all do. Y'all have conversation about, well, if we ask a lady what's her criteria for a man, a single lady for a criteria for a man, she's gonna pull out a legal pad. Pages. A brother gonna have about 2 or 3 things. Have about 2 or 3 things. And the thing about us is that we have spent an incredible amount of time thinking about what they should be like. And not taking full advantage of the time to develop ourselves. We got criteria for them, but we need to be accepted by them. Am I making sense to you? Because we want to be accepted, but you got to meet these criteria. And so that's why we keep constantly continue to entangle ourselves in relationships that end up being unhealthy. And to make ourselves feel good, we'll say it's them. It's them. And so until we can really be honest with ourselves, we're going to be in a repetitive cycle. Repetitive cycle. And I know that's why some of y'all, not some, I'm pretty much all of us who actually dared to do this thing, it was a dare.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was scary. It was scary. And some of us were careful enough to pick people who we know ain't secure enough to tell us the truth. We know who to ask. 'Cause you know who don't want to hurt your feelings. You know who is going to spend so much time trying to massage and find the right word, and you walk away feeling good, but you really need to be checked. And you need to be checked for your own good. Because I'd rather be checked in a situation where I'm volunteering myself to be checked. than to wait till this thing explodes. Because you're going to get it. You're going to get it. If you don't get you together, somebody going to come and get you together. Am I making sense? And so we got to understand that. So healthy relationships are a need. A need. And so the question is that challenged me, that I could tell that challenged you all, because, like me, I never approached it like this, but it began to make so much sense as I delved deeper into the Word. And the question I posed you, the question I posed to myself is that, did you know you were supposed to approach this with reciprocity in mind? Reciprocity in mind. I'm coming into your life with being led by the behavior of knowing that I got to give to you. But if we're real honest tonight, and I hope we can be, we didn't do that. Most of us know we didn't do that. Because watch this, we were attracted to what you can do for me. And what I could do for you was on the back burner. And normally, you know why that's the case? Because I have invested so little in my development. I'm not even secure with what I bring to the table. And so most relationships, we have a savior complex in there, a rescuer complex. Come make my life better. Are y'all hearing me? Y'all getting quiet on me. Are we here? Are we still here? We good? We're going to be honest. The only way we can get free is we be honest. So everybody can quit faking. Just go ahead and say, that's me. No, yeah, we all in there together. Okay. So, unclench your cheeks. We all right. Because we all in this thing together. We're learning together. Did you even know to lead with reciprocity in mind? Because that means I understand healthiness. Our conversation, our initial conversation should be inspecting whether or not you have the propensity to give and not just take. Amen. And present yourself in the same manner. So, one of the things we've got to accept, because, at the end of the flood, God came, he said it, he referenced it in the Garden of Eden. He came right back around after the flood and referenced it again. He just kept calling them different things. And then over in Galatians, he said it again. He worded it differently, but it's the same principle. And it's the principle of sowing and reaping. Seed time and harvest in that order. In that order. So what has to go first? I have to give. I have to be of the mindset that I am going to give first. And it's a blessing if you hook up with somebody who's thinking the same thing. But the reality of it is you got to have the faith, which is equivalent to our word risk. You got to be willing to take the risk to give. But how many of us do that? We show up with an empty container waiting to be filled, not with a full box waiting for exchange. And so you got to understand that this is an overarching principle in how God made his world. I've got to be ready to supply the needs of whatever I'm in relationship with. I got to be able to do that. Let me show you how you really know this already. Because we've touched on this before, but let's hit it again so it becomes clearer. What do you have to do when you buy a plant? Better yet, why you buy plants? What's your expectations of them? More than grow. Yeah, what'd you say? Beautiful. And you pick specific plants. You're being selective, aren't you? For what they can contribute to your environment. You know what your expectations of them to give. Now, what do you have to do for them? Most of us don't even know. You buy something because you wanted to make your environment better, but you don't even invest in understanding how to keep it alive. And so you get it, you enjoy it, and it dies prematurely.
Wow.
Doesn't it? And you toss it out and you go what? Just like the last person you dated. I'm sorry, that was sneaky. Some plants have specific needs, don't they? There's certain qualities, certain characteristics about it, and so you have to attend to them differently. You can't treat sunflowers like you treat tulips. You can't. Not if you, watch this, if you expect them to give you their full benefit. You, if you're an animal lover and you get a pet, depending on the breed, determines the quality of care, doesn't it? And so I was talking with somebody the other day. I said it's what's interesting about dog lovers and cat lovers is I almost put a post up, and then I said no, that would be offensive. I ain't gonna do that, but I'll tell y'all. I want to put it there. Are you a dog or a cat? Because if you notice, dogs will be loyal till they die. You can mistreat a dog, feeding him table scraps, and poor little fella gonna eat it because you know you ain't gonna feed him nothing else. And he'll stick around till he literally dies. A cat, on the other hand, will pack up and move on you. Won't they? A cat be like, you tripping, I'm going down the street. Because for some of y'all, the cat that you do have at your house, you didn't buy. He showed up at your house because he fell out with the last person. And so they move until somebody will take care of him. Am I making sense? But the point of it is, I want us to understand this. Is this? What we got to understand about relationship is this: is that the exchange, reciprocity. There has to be a back and forth. The Bible defines it deeper and it says equivalent exchange. Doesn't mean I give you exactly what you give me. I give you what you need, and you give me what I need. And so, this whole notion of exchange, you got to get this, is that it's determined by two things. Two things. And I'm noticing how God really simplifying this. He simplifies the understanding of it, but doesn't mean it simplifies the doing of it. Because I can understand it and still have trouble doing it. You really got to focus on two things: the nature of the relationship itself, and the nature of the person in the relationship. And what I mean by that, different relationships have different requirements. A marriage has different requirements because it's a marriage. But then underneath those basic things that God said a marriage is supposed to provide, then there's some needs for the individuals in the marriage.
$50.
What was that? Heaven's rejoicing. Do you understand what I'm saying by that? So, pastor member that there are some basic things that should be there that we talked about on Sunday, but there are also some individual needs within the relationship. And so if the relationship is going to be healthy, you got to understand the dynamics of what are you entering into. Are we friends? Then there ought to be some basic things that come in a friendship. Are we lovers? There ought to be some basic things that come in there. But now also there's some customized stuff because you're in it. Does it make sense? So we got to get the basics out of the way, but then for it to mean something, you also got to find out what the person needs and be able to express what it is ultimately that you need as well. Does that make sense? I don't want to rush through that. If you don't get that, say you don't get it. Let's talk about it. That makes sense? Doris? Yeah.
Sometimes we think that they know what we want and we don't verbalize what we want, but we have a silent frustration because they don't know what we want, but we think they know what we want.
We're going to hit that in a minute.
Okay.
Because watch this, we romanticize that. We do. In a loving relationship, we romanticize that. In the church, we spiritualize it. Because in a romantic relationship, you ought to know me. And by the time they say that, you've already learned not to guess for them because you got your hand popped the last time you got it wrong. And in the spiritual context, we use the word discernment. You're supposed to discern how I felt about that. Okay, then. You discern what I'm thinking about that statement. Tell me what my heart is at with that. The scripture says discern spirits, not people. It says discern spirits because God has never given us an excuse to turn on each other. So if I'm discerning you, I'm creating an alt with you. But I should be discerning the thing that's trying to manipulate us both.
That's good.
Does that make sense? Because as long as I'm fighting you, I'm giving the spirit free rein to do what it do.
Right.
And I haven't stopped the thing. All I did was kill the relationship, but the spirit is still free to roam. Am I making sense? That's why you can end a relationship and then go into another one, and that one fall apart the exact same way. Because I'm still under the same influence that I was before. Am I making sense to you? Yes, sir.
Go back a little bit to the equivalent exchange thing. So you're not giving what you're getting,
It's the rate of exchange.
but can the equivalency match in effort as opposed to the product?
To me that's like pulling up to the windows of McDonald's and they said, we tried to make a sandwich. and you're gonna go, well, you tried. Here's my money. So I'm gonna give you my part. The part of the deal was I was gonna pay you $8.19. Here's $8.19. They go, well, we did try. It's not. Because we want to be celebrated for effort that only you feel, but we don't see. Because like this, the whole notion of seed time and harvest, are you expecting the seed to try? Because I'm expecting a harvest. I expect something to come out of the effort. The effort itself is not the reward. It's the product that you actually do. Does it, y'all feel me on that? Does that make sense? And so here, this bullet point here, listen. It said, fear brought on by past wounds is our justification for ignoring the principle of sowing and reaping. Just because you got hurt before, God's not going to change his principle. And so we're like, well, listen, you don't know what I've been through, so I'm a little gun shy. Well, then leave all relationship alone until you're ready. Quit hurting folk hurting them with your gun shyness. Because the reality of it is, this is how it's going to work no matter what you've been through. And a lot of stuff you've been through, you were a co-conspirator in it because you didn't know what you were getting into either. And so y'all damaged each other. But it's more easy to say that they damaged me. But the reality of it is, we both was in this pot together. And so now we do have legitimate fear. I'm not saying the fear is not real. But what you got to understand, God is a little funky about fear because he's like, listen, like we said before, God said, I ain't give it to you. You got it, but I ain't give it to you. And so the only way to get past the fear is to do what? Obey. There is no remedial route. There is none. And the reality of it is, if regardless of what I've been through, I got to trust the indwelling of the Holy Spirit to give me his power, his courage, his ability, not just my own, to face this life like I'm supposed to face it, regardless of what my past said, or he's lying when he says, whom the Son sets free. Because right now, it ain't just on me. If I have him in me, it ain't just on me. The fear is more so about my ability, not his. Am I making sense? And what ignites his power is your application of his way. That's what ignites his power. His power, he said, listen, he said, I uphold my word more than my name. That scripture resonates with me. To me, that's God saying, quit calling my name if you don't know what I say. And so quit trying to move me because you holler Jesus. Quit trying to move me because you just holler Father. What have I already committed to do? Give me that. Homologio, say back to me what I've already said. Confession, say back to me what I've already said. To show me what, Lord, that we're in agreement so we can move. So you can't do it your way and ask me to come endorse it. You can't. Because that shows a shadow of turning and variableness in God. That's you telling God I know a better way, so he's no longer holy. You telling God you know a better way. He's no longer all powerful, all knowing. He's not all those qualities that make him Jehovah. So he won't budge on his way, no matter how much you cry and no matter how long your list of pain is. He says, when you bring pain to me, remember this, by my stripes. I made sure my pain was far greater than yours. So you can't never come to me and say you're more broken than I was. Am I making sense to you? He endured everything that he will allow you to encounter so that he can never act like a God that's far removed from your suffering. So if he's going through it and he still tells me he can make it, he knows what he's talking about. If he's going through it and he still tells you you can make it, he knows what he's talking about. He ain't like your friend that ain't going through nothing.
Wow.
That's trying to tell you to get up. No, he's the one that said, listen, have you been in the grave yet? No, Lord, I've been down, but have you been in a grave? Have you suffered unto death yet? No, Lord. But come on, let's go. Am I making sense to you? And so again, listen now, I am not trying to belittle your pain and say that it's not real. It is very much so real. Because those acts did happen to you. But what you got to understand is the process to healing starts with awareness. I'm aware that I've been doing it wrong. When I accept what God's way of doing a thing, now I get delivered. And now that I'm delivered from doing it the wrong way, my inner man gets to be healed. Because I don't continue to subject him to the same acts. I don't keep hitting the same wound. Does it make sense to y'all? This thing has to be reciprocated. Because if we don't do it God's way, man, we just perpetuate a curse. We keep doing it. Listen to this. When we abandon, or the abandonment of God's principles is the open door to a curse. Wow. Curse, spoken, words. And see, we back on words again. And all a curse really is, y'all, in the simplest of terms, a curse is simply behavior that is a result of us applying wrong information that has been handed down. All this is about whose report you're going to believe. Whose words are you going to believe? You got to apply something. And so it becomes a curse when what we're applying contradicts how God says to do a thing. And so we're under that curse. We're under that teaching. We're under those spoken words. And which we hear it, it creates behavior. And that behavior now builds the life we feel like we're trapped in. Because this is what was handed to us. And so to break a curse, you only break it with truth. At the heart of a curse is a lie. Satan is the father of lies. Jesus said, I am the truth. And so I got to do it his way to break the grip of the lie. And the lie is so powerful because you're not the only one practicing it. You were taught it. And so now we huddle together. That's because we see it going on in this church, everywhere. People who are suffering on the same thing huddle together and they share the same information. And it ain't in no way helping them. They're commiserating over their description of a situation when you ought to be trying to figure out where did this thing go wrong. Because all you're doing is allowing me to stay broken. And so we've all suffered at the hands of fair weather relationships, whether they be fair weather friends, parents, lovers, etc., which has contributed to the pain we now show up with. But I need you to understand God is a healer, even though it feels like it's such a risk to follow his lead. But truth be told, it's such a risk to stay where you are. You're already losing. Sir?
Is it commiserating because somewhere on the inside you believe that you deserve to feel the way that you feel?
I think so. I deserve this anger. I deserve this bitterness. Even though God admonishes you. He says that you don't need a root of bitterness. He said you don't even need the beginnings of it. Because it's going to be incredibly detrimental to your life. Because it paints life in a perspective that's not true. Because a bitter person can't see the glory of God in anything. You know what I mean? Everything is tainted. Is that, y'all feel what I'm saying? They can't find nothing good in nothing. And so you can't see how good God really is. And you can't even see the opportunities God is affording you. Because I've decided, because of the trauma I've gone through, and the amount of time I've rehearsed my trauma, that this is the extent of my life. It's the extent of my life. And so people who are trying to help you out aggravate you. I'm looking for somebody who's hurt too. So at least like my conversation is challenged. Does that make sense? But that goes against God's word as well. Our relations are supposed to be like iron rubbing against each other. And so if I love you, I give you God. God gives you correction. Not my opinion, but I discover how God says a thing ought to be. And so if I truly love you, I can handle you being upset. I can handle you. I can handle you rolling your eyes. I can handle you huddling up in the corner talking about me. Because one thing I know about the truth is once I give it to you, I can back off of it. If you don't want to readily receive it, I can give it to you. I can do this. And while you over there pissed off, I'm like, okay, Lord, I tried to teach. Life, you're up. And life is a cruel taskmaster. Life don't care about your tears. Life don't care about your history. Life don't care what you lost. Life don't care. Life said, listen, hey, I didn't have to be here. Am I making sense to you? Hey.
Is it possible to be a friend to someone and they not be a friend to you? Meaning, is it possible to not be in a relationship with someone but you still are a friend to them even though they are not a friend to you?
For a very short period of time. Because the notion of I'll come back to that. That's too small. The notion of the whole idea of friendship is reciprocity, which means that I truly can't be a friend alone. It's not a position I can hold alone. Position I can hold when I'm with somebody. Because the nature of friendship is reciprocity. And if I'm the only one giving, it's not reciprocity. So I don't even get the chance to be your friend. Y'all following me? Because I know probably some of your conversation, y'all going, but man, I was a friend of them, they ain't a friend of me. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because you can't even be a friend until there's agreement as to what friendship is, and that's we give to each other. You try. Does it make sense? So it's making your list of friends dwindle down quite a bit, isn't it? Because it's like this, April, you didn't even give me a chance to be your. That's really what it is.
So what are you? I mean,
I don't call it that, because I think we need to get all that out of our vocabulary. Because again, all we're doing is we're attaching terms to compromise positions. As soon as we put a term on it, it's a place we can be comfortable in. We just nestle down in it, so we just associates. And the reality is, guys, I'm not asking you to be associates. I'm asking you to try to be friends. Or not. Or not. Because I know it's like y'all want me to give y'all another place to land.
yeah.
But I'm telling you, friendship is foundation. Ain't nothing under it. I know. Chew on that. And so if that's the lowest rung on the ladder,
Right.
that ought to change your approach to life, period. Now you can be a teacher. Because if they don't understand the principles of friendship, you might want to teach them so one day they can try to be your friend. But there's nothing to be under that. I know you. I know your name.
You go to church together.
But is that a relationship?
I get that.
Because we call knowing folk relationship. You just know their name. Relate. The word relate implies what? Exchange. Exchange. Doesn't it? And so if we never put ourselves in a position to have an exchange, we're not friends.
Your aisle's getting cleaned up. You have 1 hour left. Walk through your departments. Make sure all your customers are taken care of. All your aisles are clean. No trash on the floor.
I hope they can hear me too. So while you're cleaning aisle 8, please understand this. I hope we have an exchange going. But do you get that but don't like it? Because I get it and don't like it. And the reason why we don't like it is because we're upset that I'm 48 and just getting it. And so sometimes the regret of catching it late it keep us from catching it at all. And so I'd rather catch it late. And so that's another thing I got to tell myself. Quit spending time eulogizing the fact that I just got it. Get it. Get it. Quit wasting another second, another day, saying, man, what could it have been? And trust God's sovereignty over my life that I got it when I needed it. Because one of the things I'm learning about information is worthless. It's worthless if it does not match your maturity. So I might have needed 48 years, 46 years, 32 years, whatever, just to get all the experience I need so that I can finally receive this information. So my maturity level now matches the information, so there's true comprehension. Comprehension is not just me understanding this, I now know how to apply it. It's worthless if application isn't the end result of this thing. Amen? As a matter of fact, you're going to be more frustrated to having been exposed to it and don't apply it. Because you can't unhear it. Hey, you got something?
Something came to me a couple months ago about friendship, and I had read something that was really inspirational. It said, "You're the CEO," and it said in your life, you need to promote, demote, and terminate. And it had me thinking about my life more in terms of being a corporation, and it made me realize why so many different relationships and even friendships were so dysfunctional. Is because I realized that as a corporation, I had a lot of the wrong people in the wrong positions. So I realized I was putting too many expectations on certain people. So some people I had really positions that they weren't even prepared for. Matter of fact, they didn't even know the whole description. So I need to take them, I said, you know, I need to take some of this weight off of them. I need to take some of this burden off of them. I may not even need to cut them off. I might not even need to terminate them. I just need to take some of this weight and some of this responsibility off of them. And I can put it on someone else.
Absolutely.
Or even hire someone else.
It kind of goes back to what you also, let me take that and come back to what you asked to April, is that it's real important, man, I'm learning it's real important for us to kind of slow walk this thing so you can begin to see what people's capabilities are. Because I can be friends with you at a level I really don't prefer. Here's what I mean by that. There's an ideal way that I want to respond with you, exchange with you. But if in getting to know you, you don't have the maturity to meet me there, then I can readjust my exchange. Does it make sense? I can adjust my exchange and we still have some reciprocity there, is that I'm still meeting you at your level, because the temptation is I'm giving you more than you can handle.
Wow.
Does it make sense? Because everybody in here is at a different development level. And so I can't treat you, and the temptation is, or even the desire is, I want to treat you like you me. I want to treat you like you at my level. And so it's easy for you to give people too much. And so I got to understand where you are, and then I got to make a decision, is as if, do I want a relationship at that level? Does that make sense? And so we could be friends there. Because friendship, again, ain't about you meeting all of my needs. It's an exchange at a certain level. Because every relationship, again, remember what I said, the exchange is based on the nature of the relationship and the people involved in the relationship. I got to understand the nature of it. You're not my bestie, but you're cool. And so there's certain things we can talk about. You know people now. There's certain subjects, you know, if y'all talk about these certain subjects, it's going to go left. So the nature of the relationship is that we got to leave religion off the table. The nature of the relationship is got to leave politics off the table.
Right, that's true, sir.
But we can have a relationship and there's an exchange here.
Right.
Does it make sense? Because wherever I meet you, see, listen now, if I meet you here, that does not preclude us from having the ability to grow. You know what I mean? But if I give the plant too much water too soon, if I give the plant too much water, because I'm thinking that, well, the plant loves water, so let's keep pouring water. I'm going to kill it. So I can give too much and kill the thing. Are y'all with me? And so I got to understand where do we come into this thing? I don't handle all y'all the same. I don't. And I've had to get y'all used to that, because Pastor got favorites. You know, Pastor's smart. It ain't about favoritism, it's about your abilities. Because you see God doing the same thing. He gave it to them according to their several abilities. One got 5, one got 2, one got 1. Why, God? According to their several abilities. According to how they had developed when I was ready to give them something.
Wow.
That make sense? Who had that? You had the hand up?
Yes, what about the family? Responsibility of you thinking your family is supposed to be that, right
Supposed to be.
there. And so you're talking about friends, but family sometimes is not even friends.
Right.
And you feel guilty for, mom, dad, or son, daughter, sister, brother. Those relationships you think comes first before anybody, really. That's what I think.
What do you feel guilty about?
I guess you used the word Sunday, loving at a distance, and we need to stop using that and really just give first, and hopefully they will give in return.
Here's where we get thrown off. Because just because they have your last name doesn't mean they've developed. Again, there is no vicarious development. Just because you're related to me, you got what I got. And so even if they got your last name, even if they gave birth to you, even if you gave birth to them, it does not mean they can handle all of you. Because you spent more time developing. Does it make sense? And so you even with relatives, you got to figure out, where do I meet you? Where do I meet you? And sometimes one of the hardest parts about parents is recognizing the maturity of our children, and we still want to treat them at a certain level, but they move to another place, and we don't change our conversations. And so now we can't meet them at another level of development, and so they pull away. Because it's just like the plant ain't giving them what they need. And now you're mad because they got mentors outside of the house. Am I making y'all with me? And so this whole development thing is incredibly personal. It's incredibly personal. So all we can hope to do through our own personal development is to inspire and demonstrate. I got to put my life on display and let them see I'm growing. But at the end of the day, guess what they still get to do? Choose. That's what makes this stuff, man, so heartaching, heartbreaking sometimes, because your development has given you a different perspective. You see other things but the problem is they can't see it. You want them to see it before the development. And they got to submit to the process that you submitted to be able to have the vision you have. Are y'all with me? And so again, all we can hope to do in that situation is that again, we recognize where they are, offer to teach. Offer to help elevate them, while at the same time don't have those expectations for them to be where you are. And so I could be so much more to you, but you can't handle that. So I'm gonna meet you here, and now we'll have an exchange here. And so we'll have a friendship here. Does that, you follow me with that? Tiff?
So how do you handle after being a parent and not doing the friendship thing, but then you start to see that they're growing, but your life is growing also,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to recognize the growth in either direction. So how do you handle the dynamics of the relationship growing without killing?
I still got to recognize where you are. I got to, and the whole parent thing, I think it's one of the things that's so hard for us to do as parents, Tip, and I'm not saying this is you, but, you know, I can see it in my kids. I gotta, first of all, I gotta accept the fact there's some areas that I missed in their development. There are some things I call myself protecting them from that I should expose them to. There's some conversations I should have had already, and I waited for circumstances to force the conversation. Now, because when circumstances force conversation, I'm trying to get you to develop overnight. And that's impossible. And so now I've got to have conversations. One of the best things you can do, especially when you're in a lead role, like a parent in a relationship, is to admit your own shortcomings. Baby, I missed this. Because the moment I present vulnerability, it disarms them. Does that make sense to you? And because if I can show you I can miss it, we can talk about where you missed it. But if I come at you like, man, you should have been there because this is it, you're not relating to me. Come. If you love me like Christ did, come where I am. Relate to me where I am. That's why Christ said, whether you make your bed in hell or ascend to, he said, I will meet you there. Because think about it. If God had to come to hell to get you, you ain't ready to talk about vision. You ain't ready to talk about purpose. You want to talk about it's high. Lord, I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired. And so God meets you. And think about that, y'all. A God that knows everything meets you at a personal level. And does not overwhelm you. He can tell you everything, but that will kill you. What did Jesus tell the disciples? He said, there's so much more I would like to say to you, but I know you're not ready. So I'm going to meet you where you are, and as I grow you, our conversation changes. Does that make sense? So that's the conversation Corey and I was having in front of y'all the other day. I said, now you've stepped over to another world, our conversation can change now. Because I can talk about stuff you actually feel. Does it make sense, y'all? Yeah.
When you talk about readjusting to the level where you and someone you call your friend can relate, is that readjustment an announcement, or is it just your personal readjustment?
And thank you. We have to talk. We gotta talk. We keep hoping somebody can just feel the vibe. I'm gonna make sure you know I'm upset because you ain't gonna see me in 2 weeks. God set this world in motion by words. God says I keep it together by words. We have to talk. And we have to learn how to talk. We have to learn. The objective is to reach them. The objective is not maintaining your language. I want to say it the way I want to say it. That's not the objective. The objective is to reach a place where reciprocity can be restored. Does it make sense to you? But if they refuse to, ain't much more you can do. The agenda?
I did. I'm kind of going back and forth. I feel like you're answering my question, but then I'm like, but. So I guess my question is, when you say that you readjust to get to their level, when you become a teacher, what does reciprocity look like at that level?
I know what you can give me. Because when I adjust to you, I'm acknowledging where you are, which also makes it clear to me what you can give. And so, if I'm noticing something about you that we are really at just a bologna sandwich level, I gotta quit asking for filet mignon.
But if you approach the relationship at, what you said earlier was you approach the relationship as if I'm gonna water or I'm gonna give, but you're not at my level, so let me adjust and come to where you are.
Because my giving is meeting your needs, not just putting on display all that I can give. So if I'm meeting you at your level, I'm practicing reciprocity because again, my giving is not based on all that I can do. My giving is based on meeting your need. And in discovering your need, I also discover what you're capable of giving, which also begins to frame to me what I can expect from this relationship. Our problem is that we put expectations on a relationship that's not equipped to give them or meet them. And so we kill them and get nothing. If I need sirloin, I need to go find a sirloin relationship. But if all you're capable of is giving me a bologna sandwich, we're going to enjoy our bologna sandwich. But I'm not going to put pressure on you to develop because I'm in your presence. You follow me with that end? And that's the hard part because we want people to be more than they are. And so we don't investigate to figure out where are you really? Where are you really in life so I can understand the nature of our relationship? That goes back to the whole principle of Amos that was repeated again in Acts that says, how can two walk together except they be agreed? We can only walk together in the places that we have agreement. That's it. And if you don't get where I am, then we can't relate there. It doesn't mean we can't relate. It just means we can't relate there. And if I would like you or you express an interest, thank you, Lord, if you express an interest to be there. Because we can't always run up on somebody's life and try to make them be something we want them to be. Our teaching is intimate, it's invasive. All the ministers in here, I tell them ministry is done by invitation only because it's invasive. Somebody has to be willing to go there. Then now you're received as a teacher. Oftentimes, and we've all been guilty of it, I'm trying to make you be something you have no desire to be. You have no desire to be. And so if I need that from somebody, guess what? I can't get it from you. So now I got to exercise wisdom. Because what we probably going to get to tonight is that one of the biggest things we got to understand about this whole thing I've been talking about tonight is that you got to know you. If you know what you need, you know how to relate to others.
Right.
Does that make sense? Our problem is that most of the time we don't discover what we need until we're in something. We're already in it. Now I'm mad because you can't give it to me.
That's good.
You feel me? Now, again, as we just talked about, that is not always bad if the person has a desire, because one of the components of this is that I have to have a desire to give you what you want. And so I may not have unearthed my ability, but I'm open to being taught to how to get there. If they're open to being taught, then we can grow together. And that actually makes the bond even better, because somebody loved me enough and is patient enough for me to grow with him. But a lot of times we meet folks that's resistant to grow. And if they don't want to grow, don't want to change, that leaves you in a state of deficit. And like the plant, you will die.
Because that's how I had to get to with my mom. I mean, I love my mom, like we was talking about, her not coming to my graduation and won't even talk about it. And, you know, I watched her, you know, at one time I was like, well, maybe she, you know, but I watched her go to my nieces, both of my nieces' graduation or whatever. But when it comes to me, she won't support anything, and won't even talk about it. And when I asked her a couple of weeks ago, I was like, you know, what is it with me that you won't celebrate anything I do? So she flared up, and she was like, I just don't want to go. And so I left it, so.
And so when we know when Scripture talks about, you know, don't be unequally yoked to unbelievers. See, most of the time we try to simplify that and say we should connect to people who don't love Jesus. But Paul wasn't really saying that. He said, be careful that, because the yoke was about work. He put the yoke on the oxen when the oxen was going to work. When he wasn't working, he didn't walk around the yard with a yoke on. They only put the yoke on him when it's time to go to work. So he's saying, don't plan to work with somebody who ain't at your level of faith. Because if they're not at your level of faith, how you gonna move?
That's good.
How you gonna move? And so when you're getting ready to do something, they hand you an assignment, Dr. S, to do some things. You can't just go grab your favorite cousin. Y'all know that, because if you don't try to do stuff with people that you love, because that's your favorite play cousin, favorite this, and you know, if I'm going over here, I need you to go with me. Abraham, come on, Lot. But the reality of it is, you haven't examined the nature of the relationship compared to the assignment. Can you handle this work? And so, because I'm going to damage what we have by trying to make you work on something you're not equipped to. Because you're going to be frustrated with me because I'm talking at a level you don't understand. I'm going to be frustrated with you because I'm dragging you through the process. And I can't get work done because I keep having to turn around to motivate you.
How about that?
I got to keep propping you up. We got work to do. We don't miss another assignment. We don't miss another deadline because I'm still looking for you, not realizing you're not showing up because you're intimidated by the whole process. And I stuck you in a place because I like you, but I didn't examine the fact that you weren't developed enough to handle the weight of this thing. So I'm killing you. And I thought I was doing a noble thing because I'm trying to expose you to something else. The reality of it is you're not ready.
Sir!
And so I did you a disservice. You can't even enjoy this because you weren't ready for this. And I might have to partner with somebody that I don't really like. But they're good at what they do. Because we want everything to be easy. No, God wants everything to be done.
Oh!
If we're going to do this, I need somebody that I enjoy being with. No. Get the work done. You need to. You got friends. You have people for enjoyment, and that's okay. You ought to have some folks that you wouldn't work with for nothing. But man, they fun on Saturday. If I just need somebody to make me laugh till my stomach hurt and I cry, that's who I'm hanging out with. But when it comes time to work, they don't show up on time. They don't complete nothing. Can I have 5 more minutes?
Yes.
So a friend loves it all the time. Here's the thing I want us to understand about this is the tendency, as the point said, the tendency is to look at that text and jump to the behavior first. What's the behavior? Love. Everybody want to run to love. But here's the thing that God really impressed upon me, and I think you're going to get this, is that I wrote this in my notes. I said behavior flows out of identity. You got to know what a friend is before you get to love. And when I say behavior flows out of identity, you're going to eventually give me who you think you are. You can show up and perform for me, like most of us do, because we've been told to make a good first impression. But even the notion of that, I'm like, well, what about the second and third and the fifth and the 12th one? And would they look like the first? Because truthfully, we want consistency, don't we? I want to meet the real you, not your representative. And so I got to understand what a friend is, so I'm not somewhere trying to perform love. If I become a friend, then the love is the outpouring of my nature. Y'all with me on that? I got to learn. That's why God pushes righteousness. He says, become a thing so that you can produce stuff. You can produce the outflowing of it. You ain't going to never find, we're the only things that God created that go against their identity. You ain't going to never pluck an orange and get apple juice out of it. Because you break it open, it's going to produce, what's going to flow out of it is its nature. Our problem is we've been given such contradicting information that we don't know what our nature is. So one day we produce an orange juice, one day we produce an apple juice, one day we produce grape juice. We're just doing whatever we think fit the moment. And so that's why we can have three friends that roll up on us at one time, and all three of them know what's different. One person trying to describe you, and they're looking like, that's not. I didn't know they did all that. They saved? I didn't know they go to church. And so we do. We often try to perform acts to win people, but your identity or who you really are will shine through, watch this, and cancel your ability to perform. And so you can read that text, that scripture, and go out and try to act out love. But you have to become a friend first by valuing reciprocity and valuing and having the faith and courage to sow first. Wow. Yeah. And then the love will flow out of you. It would just be a natural outpouring. You don't have to manufacture love. It just comes from this understanding. Because again, listen to this. Fulfillment of my needs feels like love. Wow. And fulfilling your needs feels like love flowing from me. It ain't sex. It's filling your voids. And as I fill your voids, I distinguish myself from every other person in the world. Now I matter to you. Now I'm significant to you. Does it make sense to you? I took the time to know what you need. And not only that, I want to give it. Nobody wants something given out under duress. That ain't love. I want to meet your needs. Yeah, am I me? Y'all with me? No, it's straight in the flow. The Strong says that friend is a reciprocal phrase. Reciprocity is its nature. Reciprocity is the exchange of things. As we've been saying, listen, if I don't take the time to know me, I don't know what I need until I'm already in it, like we said before. And so normally what happens is, now I'm mad because you can't meet my needs. And since you can't meet my need, guess what I do? I take back what I know you like. Now these are needs you didn't even know to express. That's just now you filling a void. You're going to take away the stuff you do know. And so now here comes the downward spiral of an unhealthy relationship. Tick for tack. Who can hurt each other the worst? And it dies. There's so many people walking around dead. Dead. Because my needs aren't being met. And I listen. I don't have. I listen how we make. I don't have a need just to receive. I have a need to give. I have a need to pour this out. It's in here. I need to put this love on somebody. You see, I need to put this friendship on somebody. You're not just frustrated because of what you're not giving. You're frustrated because you're constipated with goodness. There's so much in me I just been waiting to give somebody. But since I can't find it, now I began to practice the process of not sowing first because I'm scared of everybody. And I just hope you have enough faith to believe that it's in there. No, I'm afraid of that because instinctively I know in my God-given DNA, we're supposed to be sowing together. I'm not supposed to be filling up your cup, and once your cup gets filled, you pull back what I gave you. I don't need that. I had that in me. This is what I need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's based on when you met me at the time of my life, what my needs are.
Right.
And my needs will change. As I grow and heal and all these other things and discover new parts about me, my needs will change. But the exciting part of love ought to be is that it ain't the same. You get bored with sameness. And so when people change, you know, you got to quit looking at it as like, man, that's so negative. No, if you, well, let me meet that. You want to do what now? Well, sure, let me lose some weight first before we do. But we gonna get there. Because I want to do that. I want to do that for you. I want to go there. I want to try. I want to do all this stuff because I want to do it with you. I want to do it with you. So you got to give me time to catch up with where you at now. And it's give and take all, it ought to be give and take all together. And it ought to be enjoyable. We about to do some new stuff? What? Oh, cool. If it's anybody else, I'll be scared. But I'm going to be scared with you. But we're going to get it done. Am I making sense? That's just not love interest. That's friends. That's pastor and members. All relationship ought to be going to something new because we weren't meant to be stagnant. We weren't meant to stay at one place. We're supposed to go from glory to glory, faith to faith, precept upon precept. We're supposed to be somewhere scared every year. But we're looking at each other. You with me, right? Don't play. You with me? Because if you're with me, I'll do it. That don't mean my knees ain't shaking, but you with me? So we hold hands and we jump together. And we get down to the bottom like, woo! Because it's fun. It ain't fun to have a woo by yourself. Because as soon as you come through a woo, you're looking for somebody who saw it. Who saw that? But if you went with me, come on now. Come on. That's what this is supposed to be about. We out of time. Come on. Maybe I can give it to you somebody. Did you get some clarity? How about this? Can you see where you blew it? Can you see where you brought stuff home that you didn't know how to keep it? Yeah, I didn't want to say amen to that. Let me ask again because y'all being phony. You can see where you brought some stuff home and you didn't read the instructions. Because it looked good when you found it, but it was being cared for there. Whenever you bring something alive into your life, human, plant, animal, whatever, your life must make adjustments to supply the needs of that. And make adjustments to receive. To receive. Father, thank you for you just being you. And as Pastor Corey said, just destroying stuff. You said there's a season just to tear down, and then there's a season to build up. We trust you, even when your hands hurt. But you said you won't leave us how you found us. We see clearly. Please don't let the enemy manipulate this information into feelings of condemnation. Where we've missed it, help us to appreciate the gift of repentance. We can change. We can build. We can start over. We can do better now. we commit to giving you glory now in the areas that we fail to. We still have breath in our bodies, so we still have a God to glorify. Holy Spirit, comfort us through the transitions. They are unsettling, but we'll leap with you. Send some folks that'll hold our hands and leap too. In Jesus' name, amen. If you have an offering, please just leave it in the baskets up front.